Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This video is on Openshift custom roles. In the previous videos, I have shown you how you can create users and assign those users different permissions. But the permissions that we use are already created. For example, the cluster admin privilege or the admin privilege are privileges that already exist and I don't need to do anything about them. So these privileges exist by default, and as a user, I can use them. However, let's say that I want to provide custom privileges to a user. In that case, I have two options. I can create a cluster role that's applicable on the entire cluster, or a local role that's applicable on a respective namespace only. OpenShift provides me with two commands, the OC policy command to work with normal roles and the OC policy command to work with cluster roles. The difference is that a cluster role is residing on the cluster level, while a local role or a project role is residing on a simple project level. So you need to refer to the project every single time you want to use a role. Every role contains what resources it will manage and what can you do with those resources. For example, let's say that there is a resource of pods and services. In this case, these are our resources. But then we also need to tell OpenShift what are we going to do with these resources. So that's verbs. The OpenShift API has a lot of actions that you can perform on the resources. For example, get, list, and describe. If I give you the get verb, that means that you can run the command OC get pod and the pod name, whatever is the name of the pod. If I give you the list option, then you can do OC get pods. And if I give you the describe verb, that means you can run OC describe pod and the pod name. Same thing can also happen with the service. So verbs decide what are you going to be able to do with the particular resource. The Kubernetes API provides you this. So this is not an OpenShift feature. This is a Kubernetes feature. You can run this on a normal Kubernetes cluster, and of course you can run this on OpenShift as well. A role that's created on a namespace level will require a reference to the namespace. So we will require reference to namespace. And this can be done without any reference. For example, we can create two users, John and Jane, as we have done that in the previous sessions. And now we can assign those users custom privileges. But before you assign them custom privileges, you need to create these privileges. So the roles can be created. We have the OC create command that we can use, or you can write a YAML and then you can run the OC apply command. So both options work. Let me show you. If I go to the cluster, I can run the command OC create role hyphen help, and OpenShift is going to give me a couple of options that I can use to create roles. And the same goes for OC create cluster role. I can do the same thing. However, I can also write a YAML. So what I can do is I can create a YAML file. For example, I have two YAMLs here. Project pod service role. This is a role applicable on the particular project only. In this particular role, I will allow the user to work with pods and services, and they can perform four actions: get, list, watch, and describe. Watch will allow you to monitor real-time changes happening to the respective resource, like you do kubectl get pods -w or oc get pods -w. And then have the same role created again, but on the cluster level, which allows me access to all the resources which are there in the cluster. So I can access all the pods and all the services. While in this particular case, I can only access them in a particular namespace, that's a hello web namespace. So let me check if I am the super user. So I can use the OC get nodes command for that. The OC get nodes command can only be run by someone who's a super user. And once you have verified that you are indeed the super user, you can now do OC apply -f project pod service role for the local role and OC apply -f cluster pod service role for the entire cluster. Now, if I want to give someone cluster level privileges, I can use the command OC ADM policy add role to user. It's going to be add cluster role to user because it's a cluster role. And then we'll give the role name and the username. So we can check out the role name from the EML. It's cluster-pod-service-view. So we'll modify the command. That's going to be cluster-pod-service-view. And the username, that's Jane. And we'll run this. In the second tab, I'll log in as a Jane user. And OC get pods -a command gives me all the pods. And OC get service -a command gives me all the services part of the cluster. Now this is happening because the Jane user has a cluster level permission. She can do anything she wants with pods and services using these verbs on the entire cluster. However, I have a second permission available that's for a particular namespace only. So I can run OC policy command. The OC ADM policy command is used when you're talking about the entire cluster, but now we are only talking about a particular namespace. So OC policy add role to user, your role name and your username. This is the command that commonly we think is going to work. However, this command will fail. It will give you an error that the particular role cannot be found, even though we have created the role already. And for that matter, we'll create it again. So we have the role, right? As you can see. But even if I run the command OC policy, add role to user, give the role name and give the username, I get a warning that the role is not found. Even though OC get roles command does show the role and the name is the same, but this still doesn't work. And we can test that out as well. I can do a OC login -u John -p network nuts the password and OC get pods -n the project that's going to be hello-web project. And you can see it doesn't work. It says the user is forbidden, and it also gives me a warning that the role cannot be found. Here it is the warning for you. This is happening because the command that you have executed is the wrong command. So let me undo these changes. The right way to run this command would be to also reference the particular project in which the role is residing. As I told you earlier, local roles reside in a particular project. So you will run the same command, but you will also write here --, role namespace in the particular namespace where the role is created, that's hello-web. And now there is no warning anymore. We are the John user, as I can verify here, and now OC get pods -a will not work because I don't have the access to the entire cluster. I only have the access to a particular project. I can use -n and the project name, and it works, and it will also work with a service. So as you can see, that is the difference between a local role and a cluster role. We can create different cluster roles depending upon our requirements. You could have a role to work with pods, to work with services, deployments, secrets, or something else. And I hope this small video helps you in understanding and implementing local and cluster roles in OpenShift. I'll see you in the next one.